In the middle of 2019, I was able to accomplish a goal. As a matter of fact, a pretty big goal. I was able to ride 62 miles. My first metric century, that's right. A first century. And in fact, I did it on a hybrid. The felt Versa, in fact, just for those, that's why I kind of like it so much. That's for those who just want to know. But because I hit this goal and I was able to achieve it and I'm geeked and all of that, I'm like, you know what? I can do big miles. I can ride this long distance. It's not a problem. I can keep a max, you know, cap myself at 123 miles, whatever. I can do this. I can do this. So as I decided to treat myself and start diving down the road of a road bike, the most debilitating, unexpected thing has happened. COVID. But even though during this pandemic, and we're still technically are, it's still some type of pandemic, I was still able to do some research on what bike to buy, what was good, this, that, the other, find a bike that fit me. And I ended up coming across this.
I'm a OG boy. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. OG boy. Day we hustle, but the night we...
The 2016 Trek Emonda ALR4. That's right, world. This is your boy John coming back at you with another one. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about that bike. The 2016 Trek Emonda ALR4. Before we get into this video any deeper, or to this topic any deeper, let's talk about the specs. Let me hit you guys with the specs, and specs are pretty nice, as far as I can tell. And let's start off with the frame. And the frame they are all aluminum frame. In fact, it's one of their lightest frames. It's Trek's Alpha Series aluminum frame. Next, let's go with the front forks. Now, the front forks are Trek's own branding, which is Bontrager for those who don't know. And it's a all carbon fiber fork, which I have to admit is pretty dope. Now, the rest of the bike is made out of your cassette, your crankset, your front and rear derailleurs, chains, and all of that is done by Shimano. In fact, it's the Shimano Tiagra series. Now, this is normally a 10-speed series, 10-speed setup, so you got 10 speeds in the back cassette. And the cassette range, let's go from that 11 to 28, but your crankset range is 52, let me make sure, 52 to 34, I believe. Yeah, 50 to 34, I'm sorry, yeah, 50 to 34. Now, the rest of the bike is finished off with Bontrager. So you're going to have a Bontrager seat post, your Bontrager seat, which I have to admit is pretty nice, and your other bits, bats, and the other are all Bontrager. In fact, also, don't forget about something too, is the tires. Now, this bike comes stock with 700 by 23 R1 Bontrager tires. However, you can't upgrade to a 700 by 25 seat, which I did. In fact, I upgraded to the Bontrager R2 700 by 25 series tires. So let's get into the pros. What's the pros and cons, man? What's the pros and cons? Well, I like giving you the cons first. And the cons are small. Starting out with no mudguard mounts, no fender mounts, no patiers, nothing like that. None of those mounts. The bike is completely, and I do mean completely clean. There's no mounts need to be found that are found on this bike, which is, depending on who you are, that might be a hit and miss with them. If you need fender mounts and things like that, I would suggest go with the Money series. That's a pretty good series. They have a lot of those panniers, things like that. Alright, let me hit you guys with the pros. And in this case, the pros are very good. Let's start off with the light. Let's start out with the weight, how lightweight this bike is. Yes, the bike does come in at about 20.28 pounds, which I gotta admit, it's a awfully light bike, which makes it fun to throw around, play, climb in the up and down hills, and it's just so light it becomes playful in your hands. Now, speaking of climbing up hills, you can do that well. Now, with the 11 and 28 cassette and the 50-34 gearing that is matched with it, your standard compact setup, it's definitely, you don't have a problem. Now, I just recently moved to a different city that has a lot of hills, and I have to admit, before I purchased this bike, I didn't think I was going to use all these gears. But since I am using all these gears, the only problem that I have is my legs. My legs don't have enough leg to go up some of these hills, and I'm talking some good 7 to 8% climbs here. But the gearing is perfect. So for the 4 or 5%, I'm still able to push up very easy. And I gotta admit, the gearing is awesome. Speaking of gearing, because I'm talking about, Shimano's gearing, I gotta talk about their shifters. I love Tiagra. Yes, I understand it's a 10-speed and the 105s are better, so I don't care. The shifting on the Tiagra is smooth to me. It's just a click operation. There's no clunkiness in shifting the gears. And yes, I mean clunkiness, like you get in some cases, in some models. But with this, it's smooth. It's just smooth, and I can't say nothing negative about it. One other thing I do have to bring up is, now I didn't put this in, but I'm putting it in now. You know what? It's the tires. And I gotta admit, the tires are great. Now keep in mind, the bike stock came with 700 by 23 R2 Bontrager tires. I can't say, because like I said, I can't say. I'll tell you why in later. I replaced it for the 25s and the R2s. Now I will say this, the R2s were beautiful. I had no issues with punctures or anything like that. They grip well. They obviously have great puncture resistance. In fact, they have a low TPI of 60, so that helps you guys out. That works. And I will also say, I think it's I'm going to say, I think you can use this as a race tire. That's just my opinion. I never had any issues with it. I just like how the bike rolled with that series tire and size. So that's about it. So what's the overall verdict, John? Is this a go? I got to give you this. Now, the cost. I didn't mention the cost before, but I'm mentioning it now. The bike in 2016, because it's 2016, was retailed at $1,310. In fact, here. Now, yeah, it registers at $1,310. Now, I have to admit, I think that's okay. Now, as you can see, I bought this bike at $1,000. Now, my main reason for getting this bike, one, because you can't find one, to be honest, if you could during the middle of this pandemic when I bought it, which is 2020. You couldn't find one early parts of 2020. Bike shops were completely empty, and this was one of the few that were left. Also, because the bike shop owned the bike, owned the bike, they only lend the bike out a handful of times, which means is they kept very, very good care of it. Yeah, $1,000 may seem high for a used bike, but yeah. And as you can see, here's what it says on Kelly Bicycle Blue Book of what the bike should have cost if you buy it from a private owner. I'm only bringing that up because it kind of may influence your decision, but to me, nah, it didn't influence mine. It's still a go. I have nothing negative to say about this bike. It's great all around. It's a great all around bike. It definitely has great shifting, great brakes. Yeah, they may be rim, and I'm not about to go into that. In fact, I'm going to add in the card of my opinions on the rim brake versus disc brake debate. That's what it's called, the brake debate. Yeah, it's no big deal. Get the bike. It's definitely, I think, depending on either at $1,000 or $1,310, or to where you can get it at Kelly Blue Book values. Either way it go, it's still overall, depending on condition, still a great bike. So that's it. That's the end of this video. I guess, oh, by the way, before giving me any thumbs up, you guys don't have to do that. Just if you like the video, you like it, you a thumbs up for me. And by the way, I'm not going to even also have you to subscribe to the video, to this channel, because if you like my content, it will show. But I will ask, if you did make it to the end of the video, because you're going to see it, there's a few shots I have put in of the next video, and type in the word Bryton, B-R-Y-T-O-N, in the comment section. That way it lets me know that you made it to the end of the video. And until then, I guess I'll catch you later. on your left. Peace.